Give you my last dollar for that Gucci sweater. Trade my soul for gold, Staying hard for plush leather. You know it's better when cold weather. Whether or not we dodge this poverty like Mayweather. See, it's cool. What's for your homies? Let me break your back in a second. What's for your homies? What's for the homies?
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Attacks by the undead have been reported in several states across the country.
Welcome to Purple Mic Podcast, Music and Civics. I'm your host, Astrid Koa. I had to bring my boy Parrish back on this thing. Pardon me, Mr. P. What's going on?
What's up? Back again. Hey, y'all.
How's everything with you, man?
Things are going well. It's going good. You know, as good as they can be. But I'm excited to be back with you today. Talk about what we're talking about.
Oh, man. Listen, today's topic is gaslighting as gospel. We have all experienced some sort of BS explanation to something that we see that is extremely wrong. And just in civics, daily life, just everyday life. And we want to talk about that when it comes to church, institutions, workplace, school,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just want to just jump in it. I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off and start asking you some questions and see how you feel about some things. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, let's get into it. I feel like we've all been pretty gaslit these days. So we might as well get into it.
Man, what? Okay. So here's my first question. We're gonna start it with this. When institutions rename harm as something positive, like progress or professionalism, what makes that a civic issue, not just a cultural one?
That's such an interesting question. And I think that it's a great question too, because I think that like we're living in an age where we see like words that we thought like once meant one thing are starting to mean something else. And it's literally like happening right before our eyes. And it makes you feel crazy because it's like, wait a minute, that's not what that means. But now everybody is acting like that's what that has always meant. And I think that when we realize that our reality really is just a culmination of like what everybody has agreed on. It makes these things very important because if we were living once in a way to where certain things meant one thing and then now all of a sudden things are changing, that literally means that the entire world around us is changing, right? Like there was once a time where the words such as diversity, equity, and inclusion meant good things. But now it seems like those are things that you can't even talk about in some places. And why is that? It's because the people who are in control have decided that they mean something totally different than what they actually mean. And then when you're living in a world where we know that diversity is a good thing, we know that inclusion is a good thing, but all of a sudden companies can't even include it in their mission statement, or you can't even say it on a grant application. It's like, wait a minute, what does this mean about the actual person that I am? And how can I have the life that I'm supposed to have if I can't even call out the things impacting me with the words that actually mean the words, that they mean? And I think that that's like when it becomes a civic issue, when we have to start shaping our lives in a way that is based on really like falsehoods, when people are trying to make up words to mean something different or to be the antithesis of what they really are. And I think it's such an interesting thing because I remember in like one of our previous conversations, we were talking about how literacy is so important. And the fact of one, we already know half the country is illiterate, whatever that means. But knowing that that is an issue that we already face and people don't even understand what words mean on a regular basis, to now be living in a world where you can literally see the definition of these terms change right in front of your face, it just puts us in such a grave danger. But I also think that that's why like things like education are defunded, and then we got the police getting maximum funds because they don't want you to be able to think. They just want you to be able to be controlled. And I think that if people are able to connect the dots between education, literacy, and like civic engagement, then they will start to see why it's important that we all have a real understanding of what things actually mean. Because when we don't, your whole life can literally change right in front of you.
It so for the playlist on this episode, there was a record that I put on there by Dead Prez. Um, dang, what was the name of it? Day Schools. That's the name of that record. And like it talks about that. How how the system is not really meant for us to think on our own,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like okay, this is a model I want you to finish. So it's like the record is basically about it's the same people that are in control of the prison systems and the government and schools are controlling the narrative across the board. And it's just like overall that record is showing how the goalpost is always pushed back just
Yeah.
for personal gain. Um it's just man, it's just like I really want to figure out and find that the code, like how can we crack that, but it's by cracking it is really just not plugging into that system, um
Yeah.
and being okay with adversity.
Yeah. And I think
Mm-hmm. Go
And
ahead.
I think when people realize that the goalpost is always going to move because everything is made up, then
Mm-hmm.
they will stop living under these fake rules that nobody is living under besides them. And it's
Yep.
like I've been trying to wake people up to like make them realize like everything is fake, everything is made up. You are living your life based on these rules, and the rules are going to change depending upon who is in power anyway, right?
Yep.
Like if the rules were the rules, we wouldn't have criminals in charge of our daily life. Like,
That's true.
like none of this stuff is real. And I think that when people are able to decolonize their minds to see that the things or the norms or the rules that they are governing themselves by are
Mm-hmm.
only inflicted upon them in order to be controlled, then they'll be able to see why it's possible to have a criminal in the White House, or why it's possible to know that somebody has broken the law but nothing happens to them. But as soon as you break the law, oh baby, you getting beat up by 15 police dead in the streets, right? And it's like the system is so interesting because
Yeah.
it has created this microcosm to where everybody is the police for themselves besides the people who actually need to be policed. And we're literally inflicting justice on our neighbors that the people in power will never have to face. And why is that?
I think the worst part that people are realizing is that man, it was some press conference and it's dealing with the Epstein files,
Mm-hmm.
but they basically said if we bring everyone involved in these files to justice, the whole system will collapse.
Bring them down. It needs to collapse. It
You say
needs to
bring it down?
collapse.
But that I mean, it's to your point. Like we're following lawmakers that don't even follow their own rules that they're setting in place and passing.
Literally, like all of these laws were never meant for them, but they have brainwashed irregular everyday people to follow these things. And then when
Mhm.
it's another regular everyday person that isn't following them, you automatically turn into the police. When it's like, why are you doing that when you realize that the people who are really in charge are getting away scot-free with everything?
Man.
And like I think that that even goes beyond just our government, even in like institutions and like
Yeah.
organizations that we work for. you have people at the top of the totem pole being able to do whatever, and then it's people down the line who are literally living by these rules, living and breathing by these rules, and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that everybody else is following these same rules, where when the people at the top are just doing whatever they want to do.
It's abuse of power for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do standards like professionalism function as informal civic rules, and who gets to define those rules?
I hate professionalism so bad. I hate it so bad because what does that even mean?
Me.
What are you even talking about when you say professional? Who told you that that was professional? Who made up the standard for what professional is, and why was that made the standard, right? And I think that that just goes back to the conversation that we have been having, because people need to start asking why.
Yep.
Nobody asks why, and they just follow the things that they're told without realizing you're so focused on being professional when you don't realize that that was never meant to include you in the first place. And the
Mhm.
reason why things are considered professional is because you were outside of that to begin with. And it makes me so upset when people try to act professional in these spaces and they literally turn on everything that they are just for the sake of fitting into whatever that space is calling for, when it's like you haven't even identified why you have to do that in the first place. Because my thing is, people say that certain things are professional, but I can still show up as who I am, do all the things that I need to do, and that doesn't make me any less professional than what anybody
Mhm.
else is. And like, I've been having this conversation about, like, one, I hate dress codes. I hate any place that has a dress code, because okay, now, one, let me not say that, because yes, you should wear certain things to certain places, right?
Mhm.
But for places to have like such strict dress codes because of they need to meet a professional standard, it's crazy to me. Because whatever shoes I got on, it's not gonna change what's inside of my head. Whatever shirt
Right.
I got on is not gonna change what I'm able to do in that place. But I think so many people get stuck on the look or the sound of what professional looks like without realizing that those standards are all shaped to fit one type of group of person and to exclude you to begin with. And like, that's why I always say, like, I love to cuss and I will never not cuss, no matter what type of person I am. Because what are you even talking about? Why isn't that professional? You only don't like it because of how it makes you feel. But why are you feeling
Mhm.
that way based on what I'm saying in the first place, if what I'm saying is not actually wrong? Um,
And that also creates a culture of code switching,
Yes, yes. And
which yeah.
my thing is, I hate when I'm in spaces and you look around and seeing like who has the code switch versus who doesn't. There are certain people who never have to code switch in their whole entire life. And they can
Mhm.
show up and say whatever they want and wear whatever they want and do whatever they want, and it's still seen as professional. But it's
Yep.
like, if I was to do those same things, I'd be dragged out of here by my neck.
No, for real. By the hair.
Literally. And I don't even got none, okay?
Man. Okay. So I'm really loving like these questions because you're kind of like you're tacking onto the next thing that I have in mind for you. So okay, hold on, wait. Historically, governments have depended on controlling the narrative to influence laws and policies that empower one group while harming another. How does that show up today? For example, DEI rollbacks.
Like it's and this is such a great question because I don't even think that people realize the ways in which some of these laws were even made to be laws was to police black bodies just being free and
Yeah.
out and open, right? Like, I was having a conversation last week because like there was this whole issue about black teenagers being out downtown in Detroit and like how they were over policed and like getting like beat up by the police just for literally being out. And it was other black folks literally like inadvertently advocating for the police to do whatever they needed to do to get the teenagers from out of downtown. And I was like, y'all don't realize that even the laws that you're citing is not a real thing. Because if it was a group of white teenagers, they would not be getting beat up by the police how the black teenagers were. And I had gotten into this back and forth with somebody that I know, and they were like, well, those teenagers shouldn't have been outside um because they were because they were loitering. And I was like, do you know that loitering isn't even a real thing? That was created because they didn't want to see black folks outside to begin with. And now
Right.
you, as a black person, is literally turning this upon our children. And for what reason? My thing is, if you don't want the teenagers outside just being outside, give them somewhere to go. But they don't have nowhere to go because y'all didn't defunded all of the places where the kids are supposed to go. So now
Right.
you have created a situation to where it's illegal just to be black and outside in public, right? And I think that because DEI has been rolled back in such a way that companies and organizations are afraid to even say what they really means, it creates this situation to where people don't even have the language to talk about the things that are harming them. And literally, Zora Neale Hurston literally said that if you're quiet about your pain, they will kill you and say that you enjoyed it. And
Mm,
it's like they have forced everybody to be comfortable with being silent because they snatched away the language that you will use to even talk about what's hurting you.
man. Yeah. To your point, uh, like even being transparent, um, like in corporate America, like reporting issues, like
Uh,
even still for me, like I kind of have anxiety dealing with
yeah.
it because I know the institution comes first.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But like how do you fix a problem if you're not vocal? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean the uncomfortable truth in that, I do it anyway.
Yeah. You
Even
like,
though I might flinch for retaliation. I'm still
yeah.
gonna do
No, really,
it.
like you have to do it anyway. And my thing is, I have a whole beef with just like corporate spaces anyway, because to me, corporate is just a microcosm of white supremacist culture,
Yes.
and everything happening in corporate is what allows white presenting people to flourish because that's the system that they created for themselves anyway. And then anybody who is outside of those margins operating within that space, you're always going to have friction because those things were never meant for you to thrive anyway. And then when you find yourself in those spaces trying to thrive, you literally have to cut off parts of who you really are just to make it. And I think that people are so afraid to speak up about stuff because they are afraid of what they're going to lose. But I always be like saying to people, like, everything in life is hard. Everything
Mhm.
is hard, and you just got to choose whatever hard you want to put up with. It's going to be hard to sit in these spaces and do these things that don't feel good to you, or it's also going to be hard to speak up against these things to hopefully change them so that things can get better. And if you don't want to speak up because you're nervous about like whatever pushback or being targeted like might feel like, you're already having a hard life by trying to conform to these systems anyway. So you might as well do something that might make it better for you.
Yeah, honestly, holding that kind of pain and allowing that person to run freely is more damaging to you. That's something that I learned in that process too. But what sucks is our culture reenacting that trauma and chaos. Um, as a collective, we cut off, like you said, huge parts of ourselves to fit into a system, becoming a pick me. And
Hmm.
right now, they're literally telling us, yeah, nigga, you not accepted. But you
Literally.
making me some money though.
Literally, like nothing makes me more upset than a black white supremacist. Like a black white supremacist makes
Hey
me
man,
so it makes me so
but it
mad.
goes beyond them.
Yeah.
Anybody. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You are perfectly fine. Like it makes me so upset because kind of like you said, like they're dangling these things in front of us because they know people are going to choose that paycheck or people are going to choose those benefits over the benefit of all. And if
Right.
we get to a point to where everybody starts to choose what is good for the people, we could have a totally different life. We
Like,
could have so many good things going on because you have created a system to where everybody thrives. But no, because you have been brainwashed to be an individual in a system that is not going to benefit you regardless, you're literally creating the cycle to continue and to continue because you're not speaking up against whatever is right for everybody.
I also believe people have been in a deprived state for so long and not having that it's just the thought of having that dream home, that dream car. That's what's keeping them in a loop for real.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have the opportunity to like, I don't want to live the same life where I had the same beat up pair of shoes and I had to keep up with them hoes until they had
Mm-hmm.
no more miles on them, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just seeing or hearing people say, I'm choosing livelihood, but really you just choosing material.
You're
Because
choosing material.
you can't take that money with you. You know, it doesn't like you choosing your livelihood doesn't bring back pieces of your soul in the long run. You're just
Oh.
really living with bad decisions at that point.
No, really. And like I've been having this conversation with myself a lot lately, just about like being in the space that I'm in and like choosing to do things that I think are like what God wants me to choose to do and how it
Hmm.
goes against what the world says that you should be doing. And I think that so many of us have these voids within ourselves for whatever reason. But instead of filling those voids with the true things that God wants and needs us to fill the voids with, we seek the things that the world puts in front of our face to tell us this is what you need to feel better. This is what you need to feel better. And even when you get those things, you don't feel better because that doesn't feel the actual void. You're not filling it with the love of yourself. You're not filling it with the love of others. You're not filling it with the love of God, and you're trying to fill it with all of these things that the world is telling you that you need to get filled with, not knowing that the world is telling you those things because that's what they need you to choose to keep the cycle to continue to mess you up.
Yes. Come on now, you better preach. Yeah.
Listen,
Okay, so here's my next question. If communities are taught to doubt their own lived experiences, what does that do to trust in systems like education, healthcare, government, or church? Oh boy.
that's such a powerful question because I think that when people are taught to like distrust themselves and distrust their communities and the benefit that come with that, the only thing you have left to trust are these systems that the world put in front of you. But if we realize that these systems were created to maintain control and to stop liberation, then we would know that trusting in those things will never lead to the outcome that we want. But because they have made you think that all that you are and all that your people are is wrong to begin with, that's all that you have left to trust in. So now you done turned into a black white supremacist without even knowing what that means. And then it's like you as a black person or you as a marginalized person, whatever that might look like for you, you are seeking trust and hope within these systems that was only meant to benefit one type of people. And now
Mm,
all of your actions are upholding the very system that's literally killing you.
yes. You know, I was talking to my mom not too long ago, man, and she just was going off about like church culture itself. And she was like, that's one institution. Not saying the others aren't as bad, but she felt like, you know, this is a space that's supposed to be for healing,
Mm,
but
girl.
we're the main that's the main institution that gaslights people beyond all the other institutions. And she said, "Let me give you an example." And I was like, "Okay, okay, give that to me." And she was like, basically, she cannot stand hearing people say, "Well, God didn't give you the spirit of fear," right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's in context to, let's say, something harmful happened, or you're about to face something that's crazy. You are allowed to experience those emotions. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you have to live in it, but don't tell me that, I can't feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So she's like, okay, prime example. She gave Jesus as an example. Like, this dude was literally sweating blood out of just, this man was about to die, and he knew he was about to die, right? But to tell him not to experience that level of like concern or fear, it's not fair to that person, because that is their lived experience. However, common, we know where the power is held. So for
Mm-hmm.
people to like live in a space to tell us, "Oh, you're not experiencing this, or you shouldn't experiences," it's just, that is a big red flag when it comes to gaslighting in the church culture. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have these feelings for a reason, and you telling me to deny these feelings is actually putting me in a constant loop of denial. And that is why we have the issues that we have as a community and as a people.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been having this conversation a lot with myself lately, and then just like even like with my friends and stuff, is that God is not pleased. God is not pleased with none of this stuff that's going on. And I think that we live in a world where people who say they are Christians, people who say that they follow God and like follow Jesus, have no idea what that really means,
Mm-hmm.
because they have been indoctrinated by the church and not listening to the true teachings of who Jesus really is, right?
Yep.
And this is also why I think that literacy is such an important thing, because if people were able to read the Bible and really understand what it says and what Jesus was really all about, they would know that what the church does, he would hate that. He would be in there flipping tables once
Tables.
again.
Yeah.
Like flipping them all again, because they are doing the exact
Exact
things.
same thing.
Yes, they are doing the exact same thing that the folks that made him flip the tables the first time was doing. Like literally turning his father's house into something that it was never supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
But I think that because we are living in a world where everybody is illiterate and can't nobody read and understand what's actually being said and what they're reading, they just take the words of their pastor, or take the words of whoever is telling them these are the real words, and like this is what that really means, and like really acting and living that, but they're not understanding why everything is crashing down around them, because they don't understand that Jesus was not for none of this. Jesus
Right.
was not for us treating people in a way that is totally different just because of who they are, right? Jesus was here for everyone and making sure that everybody had what they needed to thrive, regardless of how you feel about what they had going on, right?
Mm.
But I think just based on just how the church is structured and the history of the church, people don't understand that the church and the modern church that we see today wasn't from Jesus. It was from the politicians who literally killed Jesus. And like they put him on the cross because he was here liberating people and letting them realize what life was all about. And they couldn't have that going on because they needed people to control. And the churches and the things that we subscribe to now are the exact same folks who put Jesus on the cross. But
Yep.
if you don't read the word for yourself or seek to know all that you are through Jesus, through God, you will never identify with that because you're being brainwashed by what they're telling you is right versus wrong. When Jesus would be in here mad at everybody.
You know, it's because it's truth is uncomfortable, and I don't think people want that experience. So that's, if you really living in truth, you're gonna have that walk that Jesus walked.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's easier to be over here. Like that's what they're opting out to be. And it's unfortunate because you never really have, and this is just more of a spiritual thing. You never have the opportunity to find yourself as a whole person by following a system that was meant to keep you from being rooted in God and
Yeah.
living in true self. So that's horrible.
Yeah, no, and it's so interesting how the lack of true understanding or even the fear of really interrogating yourself for
Hmm.
the sake of not feeling like that you're questioning God is also rooted in the fact that you don't even understand what happened in the Bible. Because righteous people question God all of the time to really understand what was going on. Why is this happening to me? But I think that we live in a world now where people don't read for themselves and they only hear what they're being told. And it makes them do things that will stop them from really understanding what God wants for their lives. Literally being gaslit to lead to their own death.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this then. When events like the Tulsa Race Massacre were erased from textbooks, what does that reveal about how power operates in civic education?
Um, to me, I think that what it reveals is that education is really the like key to life, right?
Hmm.
And like even the Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. And it's the withholding of education, it's the withholding of truth, it's the withholding of knowledge and literacy that I see as the true antichrist. Like all of those things are antichrist like because it's stopping you from really understanding what's happening and how to overcome what's happening. So when you have an education system that takes away all of the examples of how the marginalized advocated for themselves, it creates this psychology to where people who are marginalized don't have any reference points to how to change their lives. And the only reference points that they have is like, oh, I need these white folks to automatically feel better to come and save me because that's all I know that has happened without realizing nothing in this world has changed because somebody woke up and wanted to be good one day. Everything
Right.
in the world has changed because people fought for the things that they wanted to change. But if all of that is taken away or taken out of the education system, you have no idea how to change your life. And you're just waiting and hoping that somebody's gonna drop down from the sky and save you without realizing that God already gave you everything that you need to make these folks listen to you. If only you were able to stand up for yourselves and make the things change how he wants you to make them change. But when you create a system that literally takes all of those examples out of you, people have nothing to like look towards or look to see what is that example for how I can really make some change happen within my life. So I think that that's why education is such a powerful tool within civic engagement and like revolutionary power, because people really do need to see what has happened in the past in order to figure out what their future can really look like. Like
Mm.
like there's a saying that like you well I don't know the exact saying, but it kind
Mhm.
of goes like you will never know where you're going unless you know where you've come
It
from.
came from. Yeah.
Yeah, but we got people who don't even know where we've come from, and that's why they're so dazed and confused
Or
about what's
forgot.
happening now.
Or forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it reminds me of, to your point, it reminds me of like everybody's been talking about LeBron and whoever else
Oh,
speaking
oh
poorly
girl,
about Memphis.
he
And
need.
like I know, I know. And what's so jacked up about it is that I know the history of Memphis and it's such a rich history, but he's not looking at it from a systemic issue. He's looking at it from a place of privilege. I go to this hotel and this is filthy and this is that and blah 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 blah. But let's talk about the funding in the city.
Yeah,
Let's talk about how not too long ago there's a couple people who are on trial for mishandling funds. Where like I know some people that are within, I want to say, the county or the government here. And it's like, man, the reason why we have fucked up streets is because so and such is using a company car and taking a boo or side piece over to Dubai or some shit like
Girl,
that. But it's happening. So
yes.
while you're sitting here talking about Memphis is not whatever, da da da, let's talk about the systemic issue, how people are mishandling the funds. And then when we finally have that position in power, it's just like we wasted on things that aren't. It's because we want the lifestyle that white people are living.
Literally, like no.
Go
uh,
ahead. I want to hear what you
Like
got.
nobody is able to connect the dots. Nobody is able to connect the dots as to why our reality is the way that it is. But once again, even this situation with him talking crazy like that goes back to my point as to why education is so important. Like, yes, was I pissed off about what he was saying? Absolutely. But when I sat back and thought about it, it didn't shock me for somebody who literally got rich right after high school. You don't have no type of critical thinking skills to even identify why Memphis might be in the condition that it is, because you went
Mhm.
straight to the league right after high school. You don't even know how to think besides think about basketball. And then now they done brainwash you with so much money that you can't even figure out why black folks in Memphis have the life that they have. Because they should just be rich like me because I worked hard and da 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 da. Boy, shut up.
You know? Okay. So programs like Intel Pro targeted activists and then discredited them. How does that shape the way um, dissent in is treated in a democracy? I'm sorry. I was like stumbling on that. Want me to say it
No, no,
again?
no.
Okay.
No. You are perfectly fine. I I really think that situations like that and like Pro kind of creates a reality to where like people are afraid to be advocates, and
Mhm.
where people are afraid to speak up because they don't want to be targeted. But even like thinking about me and the work that I do, like knowing that people will not be okay with like what I have to say, or knowing that I might be targeted because of like speaking truth to power, right? I don't think that scares me away. Like, yes, sometimes I might be nervous about like, oh, I don't know if I say this, what's gonna happen, right? But I
Yeah.
think that I'm not afraid to say it anyway, because once again, I already know that everything is hard. And if I don't say it, it's still gonna be hard for me to live this life. But if
Mhm.
I do say it, so what? I might gotta deal with some pushback, or so what, I might gotta watch my back from time to time. But at the end of the day, I always have faith that the work I'm doing is the Lord's work. And as long as I'm speaking truth to power, nothing will be able to touch me, even if they try to, right? Things might look different, things might look hard, but at the end of the day, I know whose hands I'm in when I'm really doing the work that I'm here to do. And I think that knowing that this world is the way that it is, because everybody has been quiet for so long, kind of pushes me further to be like, no, y'all need to wake up. You need to wake up and get serious, or nothing is ever going to change. But I think that that's such a tough thing for people to do, once again, because they have lived a hard life for so long, and they just want to get a break. And that's why I think it's like being a revolutionary in the most vocal way is probably not for everybody, but I do
Mhm.
believe that there is a way for everybody to be revolutionary.
Yeah.
It just might look different, right? And I
Mhm.
think that maybe my life might have just been primed in such a way to where I can be the one to speak up without too much fear, knowing that I do have systems in place to where I could still be okay if I, run into a situation to where my quality of life is impacted. But I can't expect that from everybody.
Right.
But I can expect everybody to rebel against the system in whatever way that they feel most comfortable. My problem is people don't even try to go against the things killing them to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes they feel like there's no way out, and there's always a way out. Um, but I think an encouraging thing, like even like if you already survived something in the institution, you can go. You already got the stripes.
Yeah. And
You already got the war stripes. If you survive something, have your mind, you have your spirit. you are well equipped to be in this line of
Yeah,
fighting for what you believe in. So yeah, no,
yeah.
I'm with you on that one.
And I think that people just need to like level up their like faith game. Like really, God said you only need the faith of a mustard seed, and that's a little bit of faith. That's a little
Yeah,
bit of faith. Like you don't need nothing more just to know that whatever you do, if you feel like it's the right thing to do, everything is going to work out for you. And I think we get blinded by what the world tells us that we need to have a good life. That little bit of faith never shows up for us because we need to see it right now, right in front of us, when it's like if you just trust God to do what he said he's going to do, long as you do what you're supposed to do, everything will always work out for you.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna move on to another question for you. So when system acknowledge feelings but deny facts, and what does that mean for accountability and justice? Like feelings of fear for like white supremacy or something of that.
Yeah. I was so and this is something that I think about often, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that well one of the functions of white supremacy is right to comfort, meaning basically that marginalized people always feel this feeling of like making sure that white people are comfortable, or like folks who represent the power structure, because they don't always have to be white, but folks who represent the power structure are always comfortable, meaning that you might ignore the facts of a situation because that might make somebody feel uncomfortable. But I think that that's such a dangerous space to be in, because when you have a system that's shaped by how people are feeling without really acknowledging the true reality of that space, you're never going to solve anything, because you're always going to be talking around a problem.
Yeah.
Because once you start talking about facts about the problem, about why this person doesn't have this but this person does, or why this person can do one thing and get sent to jail for life, but this person can do the same thing and get probation, right? Like people start to feel uncomfortable because of those things, because it makes them confront the systems and how those systems are inherently unjust, right? And I
Right.
think that when people value feelings over actual history, over actual facts, over actual patterns, and only
Mm-hmm.
focus on how things might make people feel, we're literally just allowing the system to continue.
Yeah. Hmm. That's a lot. I'm like processing what you're saying, but yeah, no, you hit it on the nose.
Yeah. And like one of the other like functions of white supremacy that I think like especially like marginalized folks really have to like face is fear of open conflict. Which
Mm.
which basically says um that that like you should shy away from like things that like lead to conflict. But I think that also implies that people really don't understand what conflict actually means. Like me, I am a person who welcomes conflict. I love confrontation. If I got something to say, I'm gonna say it, and you just gonna have to hear it, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm just like cussing everybody out, right?
Yeah.
That just means that if I see that something that needs to be talked about, we got to talk about it. Because if we don't talk about it, nothing is going to get solved. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that we live in a world that demonizes conflict to the point that people just like let things go, or they become passive aggressive about it.
Aggressive.
Yeah, yeah. And then like nothing actually changes. But I think that once again, if people understood what words mean, if people were able to be literate, they would know that conflict isn't inherently a bad thing. Conflict becomes a bad thing when the parties involved aren't able to talk about the conflict in a factual and truthful way to actually lead to that thing being solved. But we can't do that when everybody is already scared of conflict to begin with.
It just reminds me of it's just corporate America.
Girl.
Um, and I've seen it in corporations and churches, schools too.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I got some stories for you, but It's just okay. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to say. Um so all right, boom. I've been in situations where all right, there's like a company meeting, right? And we know there's a problem of okay, here's an example. You have upper management, right? And then you have the worker bees. I remember I
Mm-hmm.
was a part of the worker bee crew. I didn't want to be upper management at this point. However, in this team, upper management, even though you're in that space, you still have the responsibility of showing up fully, not putting all of the workload on the worker bees while you at home picking lint out your toes or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I've had situations where it's like, no, this is not fair. Like, we can't cover our shifts. And then because you don't feel like coming in, you want us to cover yours. And then when we're looking for a break, no, everybody got to come in because I'm in. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
who said like this is okay? So let's address this issue. And the main thing that I've seen in that type of environment is everybody just bouncing around and talking about what the meeting is not really about. Or okay, here's another thing. I'm gonna make it real simple. One company I was working for, we had an issue with the coordinator. She sucked at her job because it was your job to make sure that we had stuff on the calendar and meetings, but she was so lazy, she didn't even want to put it on the calendar. Bitch, that's your job.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So we're sitting there like, yo, we got all of these other, we got, what is it called? Trello. We had Teams. We had like all different kinds of platforms that the company paid for. And she felt like you guys should just write it down. Listen to the notes, write it down. I already
Girl.
showed up how I was supposed to show up. Like this nigga here, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a meeting because look, I'm trying to show up the best way I can for an event, and then we're not getting the information until like showtime. How does that represent excellence? And how are you
Yeah.
being praised for doing a great job when you really fucking up for real?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, okay, now we have a big meeting, and now the manager is playing twinkle toes with her. We not dealing with the situation. So now, okay, we supposed to be fixing it, and now we're in this fucking loop of chaos because you don't want to address her. And then
Mm-hmm.
you're leaving it to us to say something on your behalf, and you're the manager. That's like you
Yeah.
you want me to flip some tables in here. Now I'm ready to fight you. And then now you're building resentment, within the team. And it comes a point where that shit implodes. And now it came a point I was ready for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm
And
ready for the
like,
smoke. Yeah.
no, really. And like, I think that this whole system, or like these multiple interconnected systems that we live under, are so insidious because they create situations to where you're gaslit. And then when you are gaslit, you are feeling these feelings that you have been taught by the system, like, oh, you better not show that real feeling. But then now you're on the inside going literally crazy because you know you feel something, but you can't even say how you're feeling because you have been socialized to not speak how you really feel because that's gonna make somebody feel uncomfortable. So now you're in a loop within yourself, literally feeling like you're set on fire, but you can't even ask for help to get the fire put out. And it just makes a situation to where like we run ourselves into the ground by once again following these rules that are literally made up only for certain people to follow.
And a lot of people know how, like, they understand it, and then they play into the system, and then, oh, okay, I understand you have a great sense of respect. I'm gonna take advantage of that. And like
Mm-hmm.
we have to do better and understanding like, oh, okay, no, you actually disrespecting me by coming in my face acting like, you're gonna show up in full and you doing the opposite.
Yeah.
So And I don't know if it's a thing where it's like the benefit of the doubt, you know what I mean? But it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy. Like, I'm at a place now where it's okay, this shit wrong. I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. And if some backlash come with it, I hate to have it, but if I gotta fight, I will. And I
Yeah.
think people gotta move into space now. Like, it is what it is.
It
So
is what it
if
is.
we gotta go there, let's go there. We
Yeah.
can't live in that fear.
Yeah, and like my thing is, all of our actions have a consequence. Whether it's the action of being silent or whether it's the action of speaking up, it's always going to be some type of consequence that follows that behavior. And you just need to figure out for yourself what is the one that you want to put up with. Because, like we've been saying, everything is going to be hard. You just need to figure out what hard you're willing to deal with. I know me, myself, personally, I'm not willing to put up with no hard of being dogged out.
Yeah.
I will be more willing to put up with the heart of me speaking up for myself and then something being taken away. Because my thing is, I always say, if I advocate for myself and something is taken away from me, then that was something that I didn't need in the first place.
Yep. Come on now. Okay. So when people are pushed to blame each other, immigrants, other communities, different groups, how does that how does that distraction benefit larger systems of power? I just had to throw that one in there because he was starting to hit on it.
Oh, yeah, no, like that, and like that is the whole thing that like I be trying to like wake people up to. It's like all of the like all of the conversations that like we be seeing about like racism with like marginalized groups or like gender wars or like people, you know, like straight folks being mad at gay folks and like all of this like back and forth stuff is literally distracting us from the system of white supremacy that is clearly killing all of us, right? Even the whole conversation of like rich versus poor is a distraction because if poor white people were able to wake up and realize that the system is killing them also, then
Mhm.
we will probably start having some change around here. But everybody is distracted by the whatever versus is important to them, whether it's rich versus poor, straight versus gay, black versus white, men versus women, whatever it is. All of those things allow the actual system to have a scapegoat. And
Mm.
then now and then now you're literally fighting each other, and the system is still rolling, just killing everybody back to back because y'all not attacking the true things that are impacting our day to day life because you just so blinded by the thing that's right in front of you. Because once again, you can't connect the dots, and why can't you connect the dots? Because you haven't been taught to think, and why haven't you been taught to think? Because if you're taught to think, that's the key to your liberation. Like everything is so connected. But people can't see that because they're blinded by that simple thing that's right in front of their face.
What I'm seeing though now, people are so sick and tired of experiencing the okie doke that they're literally burning down institutions, which
Listen, I say burn
I
them
ain't
down.
mad at it though.
Burn them down, baby.
Burn it down. That's the only way. Okay? That's the only way. All right. Okay, so my next question. People are constantly made to question reality. Do you think it is impacting civic participation, like voting, organizing, or speaking out?
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Like I definitely think that the whole conversation of like, oh, my vote doesn't matter or oh, I don't need to be engaged with this because things are just gonna be what they are anyway. It's such a like mind fuck for lack of better words because it's like that's what they want you to think so that you don't
Mhm.
realize that you actually can make things change. But the only
Yep.
way we can make things change is if we have everybody in mass working together to make those things change. But you have been listen, I keep saying brainwashed because
And brainwashed, but it's
I think
true.
I think everybody brainwashed. Like literally, like like there are some things that I'm even still like trying to get out of the
Mhm.
brainwashing of, right?
Yep.
But um I definitely think that that whole like viewpoint to like make people think that they don't have any power is literally what's stopping us from having the lives that we all deserve to have.
You're right. Mm. Mm. It's a process though, because if you unplug like too soon, it could really destabilize you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And we're all unlearning things that, man, we found out it was a lie.
Yeah,
It's like, damn, I've been lied to all my life. I was
literally.
just a battery that just keep the thing going, you know? So this is crazy. All right.
I think people have to get more comfortable with like, well, one, it is a process to like decolonize your mind. That's a journey that I've been on ever since Howard, and that's been 13 years or so now.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's just so interesting because we are socialized and indoctrinated to have faith and trust within these systems that when you do start to realize that everything is made up, it really rocks your whole world because it's like, oh, damn, now what am I supposed to think? Like, I've been told this way to think my whole life, and now I'm finding out that that was all made up. What am I supposed to do? And like, some people really just can't handle that. And I don't even blame them for that because it makes sense to where your whole foundation that you built everything on is starting to crumble and shatter. Like you're literally freaking out. But that's
Mhm.
why I think that people need to get more comfortable with finding out who they are and who God has made them to be. And then that will be able to be their like solid rock of a foundation versus the fake stuff that the world has created for them.
I literally watched my mom go through that. Like, she is I think she's X, like
Hmm.
a boomer. She's like right in the middle. And what was so interesting when they were doing all those cuts in the government, um, man, it, like freaked all the way out because
Yeah.
I built my life. Y'all promised me, basically a sweet life. If I work X amount of years, if I do X, Y, and Z, I can retire. I got this, that, 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 that. I did all those things, and to be told that I can't have any of, what was dangled in front of me, and now I have to figure out what life looks like, and I'm not guaranteed any of the funding that I put all my money into because you decided that you want to spend it on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, that was a hard process to like witness, but like a year later to see the freedom that she's in now and reconnecting with herself is
Hmm.
totally possible. And I'm just sending encouragement to people like it at first, like you said, it's mind shattering. It will rock your whole entire world. But when you reach the other side of that destabilizing moment, you find yourself and you
Yeah.
reconnect to the person that you once were, and then you realize, damn, I have been lost for a minute, so
Literally.
embrace that process because it's life changing, but you don't realize how many people you will free by living the experience and showing them a blueprint, so
Yeah.
that's what I got to say on that.
Yeah, no, and like I think that you're absolutely right because my parents are Gen X also, but I
Hmm.
have a theory that like Gen X is probably one of the most, and like this is no shade to anybody that is Gen X. Like this is more of a critique on the systems that we live under. I believe that Gen X is probably one of the most brainwashed generations because when you think about where they fail in the grand scheme of time, right? That was the first generation that had like full access to like totally great rights and like civil rights and like opportunities because during the time that they were coming of age like it
Hmm.
was after the civil rights movement but prior to the um prior to the war on drugs. So like they were kind of in like a golden age to where they had opportunities just flowing. Whereas boomers saw how bad it could get, but then started to change. And then our generation, you know, we 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 kind of started to see the shift in like how folks were treated unfairly just based on who they are. So like our understanding of how the world worked was
Yeah.
shaped totally different than
Mhm.
folks who are in Gen X. And so like I be trying to talk to my mama about all of the stuff and like the like ways that I think about the world. And like she just thinks that I'm just such a radical person. Like, oh my God, what happened to you? And and like I'm trying to tell her, no, girl, what happened to you?
No, for real. Okay. All right. Oh, dang, this is our last question. Dang. See, I love having you on this show because we so locked in. But anyway, okay. Here's the last question. What does it actually take to rebuild trust and shared reality in a society where truth has been systemically distorted?
Mm. That's such a great question. I think what it's really gonna take is one acceptance of how our society got here. But that's such a tough thing. Sorry, that's such a tough thing when people value feelings over facts. So one, I think people have to get comfortable with the facts of the matter. Like people gotta get comfortable with the facts of life, okay? And the facts of life are like we have gotten to this point based upon these systems literally created to marginalize people in efforts to uphold a certain group or type of person over everybody else. And I think that when we realize that that isn't a personal indictment of people living today, and people don't have to feel personally responsible for how things are, but we still must accept as a society that the things that we encounter are due to centuries of just unfair systems being weaponized against the most marginalized, then we can start to have conversations about what is needed for things to look different. But I think everybody is so stuck on the fact of like, well, I wasn't a slave owner and you weren't a slave, so that stuff doesn't matter without realizing that everything builds upon everything else. And if we get past the fact of like I, and then start to focus on we as a whole, and like really be able to identify how everything is still connected, then we can start to have some real conversations about what is needed to change to make sure everybody has what they need. But until people are comfortable with facing the facts and getting over the feeling, we'll never get there.
I mean, in the big picture, I was thinking about this on my way home today. All of these like corporations, jails, whatever, schools, it's all a deep reflection of just slavery itself.
Yes.
So and like when people realize when they take a moment to think about transactions and like legal work and how it's the blueprint of our country itself and how it affected everybody globally, that I think that's the first step. Like
Yeah.
going beyond, like you said, the feelings. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about this over here so then you can understand why everything else look the way it does. But
Yeah. Like people have to realize that the entire system of capitalism, which runs the entire world that we all live in, no matter what country you're in,
hmm
was built on the transatlantic slave trade, and that black folks were the first form of capital that literally boosted up everything else, and that all of these major corporations literally can be tied back to slavery. Like then we could really start to talk about what needs to be done, but nobody wants to accept that because nobody wants to be seen as the bad guys without realizing, regardless of however you want to feel, that's what happened. That is the facts. Like that is what's going down.
yep. Dang, we at the end of the show, brother. How you feel? How you feel?
I feel great. I just hope people can start accepting the facts and get over their feelings.
No, agreed. Totally agree. It takes time. It's a slow walk. And I feel like that's what we are here for, to talk about civics, to bring music in there, for, make it intergenerational. So, for one, I want to thank everyone for tapping in on Purple Mic Music and Civics podcast. Um, Please hit like and subscribe, give us some comments, some love, share it. Also, you see my boy QR code on the bottom. If you want to hear this awesome, super smart gentleman, that's the way to do it. And that's also a way to follow him, Mr. Pardon Me P. Oh man. Well, thanks again for coming and hope to see you again soon.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. Peace out, Purple Mike.